בבקשה.
Hello, everyone. So,
Hello, ma'am.
last time we met, I talked about culture and values. And today I'd like to talk about building and developing the relationship with our patient, our employer. And I'll start by saying something about culture. So in Israel, we're very informal on the most part. And it's fine that you refer to me and Anat and Yaakov as ma'am and sir, because we don't really know on a personal level. We're here on this Zoom thing. But I would just like to say that in terms of how we, how we call people in general, you're the only people that ever call me ma'am. Everyone else calls me by my name, my first name. My name is Sarah. So I invite you all to call me by my name, Sarah. And I'll just say that this is very, very common and accepted in Israel. Even children in school call their teachers by their first name, and even the principal. So we generally are very informal in that respect. And today we're going to talk about building the relationship with our employer and the family and otherwise as well. And like I said last time, our session is about an hour and a half. We're going to have an intermission in the middle. And I invite you to participate, to share with us and with each other experiences, dilemmas, questions that perhaps you had the time to think about. Anything at all is perfectly fine to bring up in this forum. And I'll repeat what we said in our previous session, that anything that we do share with each other here, we all are, promise that we keep within this format, right? We don't talk about this with other people that are not involved in our work relationship and so on. And the purpose for this Zoom is to allow you to have a professional group that you can share with, and experiences, dilemmas, questions, and help each other, and hopefully we can also help. So this is the purpose of our interaction here. So let us begin. Building and developing a relationship with our patient. What does that involve? Firstly, creating good communication. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Coordination of expectations, building trust, creating the Caregiving Alliance, and taking into account social and cultural components. So firstly, we'd like to talk about 4 different types of communication styles that usually represent people no matter what their culture and what their country is. And these types of communication styles are pretty relevant and prevalent all over. So let's think what they might be. Every person has a unique communication style, a way in which they interact and exchange information with others. There are 4 basic communication styles: passive, aggressive, passive-aggressive, and assertive. It's important to understand each communication style and why individuals use them. For example, the assertive communication style has been found to be the most effective because it incorporates the best aspects of all other styles. When we break down these 4 styles, we'll better understand the characteristics of each style, standard phrases, and what makes them unique. We'll begin by talking about the passive communication style. Passive communicators often display a lack of eye contact, poor body posture, and an inability to say no. Passive communicators also act in a way that states, "People never consider my feelings." And passive communicators are also easy to get along with, as they follow orders and go with the flow. And sometimes passive communicators, communication style may be a result of shyness, or in some cultures, it may be considered to be polite, or, or to be respectful. But I must say that there's a very, negative side to this type of communication, obviously, because if you don't express what you think and what you feel, no one will know how you feel and what you think. And so there's a problem of communication there. And also there's an opportunity to be misunderstood, right? If somebody asks you questions or tells you to do something and you don't respond, then of course you can be taken advantage of, and it could be understood that you agree unless you don't agree, right? So it's not a very a good way to communicate, because you may be misunderstood and also frustrated that nobody relates to the way you feel and think. Aggressive communicators. This is a problematic way of communication. Let's think about what it involves. The aggressive communication style is emphasized by speaking in a loud, demanding voice, maintaining intense eye contact, dominating or controlling others by blaming, intimidating, criticizing, threatening, or attacking them, among other traits. Obviously, this is not a very positive way to communicate. Usually it turns people away, and they don't really listen to what you have to say because of the way you're saying it. And if you have aggressive communicators as employers, this is obviously very difficult to deal with. Even if you do try to empathize and understand, perhaps they're dealing with pain, and perhaps they're dealing with loss or grief, but nonetheless, it's very difficult to deal with this kind of behavior. The passive aggressive. This one is a little tricky. Passive aggressive communication style users appear passive on the surface, but within, he or she may feel powerless or stuck, building up resentment that leads to seething or acting out in subtle, indirect, or secret ways. Most passive aggressive communicators will mutter to themselves rather than confront a person or an issue. They have difficulty acknowledging their anger and use facial expressions that don't correlate with how they feel, even deny that there is a problem. So, passive aggressive communicators, they send off double messages, right? It's what they feel and what they think are not the same, and what they say is something else. And perhaps their body language communicates one thing, and their head is thinking about something else. So this is very difficult to deal with, because you don't know what to expect and how to deal with a person in terms of what he's trying to tell you, right, about his feelings. So this is very confusing and frustrating to deal with people that are passive aggressive. The one that we recommend, and is used for ourselves to be, and also try to encourage our employers and people around us to behave in an assertive manner. Okay, assertive communicators can express their own needs, desires, ideas, and feelings while also considering the needs of others. One of the keys to assertive communication is using the I statement, such as, I feel frustrated when you're late to a meeting, or I don't like having to explain this over and over again. It indicates ownership of feelings and behaviors without blaming the other person. This is very important. Some people, when the situation is not to their liking or to their advantage, they'll always find somebody else who's at fault, never taking responsibility. And the idea in being an assertive communicator is to take responsibility and ownership of your own feelings, of your own actions, and so on, and to say what you mean and mean what you think, and so on, right? To be direct and honest about what you feel and what you communicate. So let's sum this up. The passive communicator is emotionally dishonest, indirect, inhibited, self-denying, blaming, and apologetic. The passive aggressive communicator is emotionally dishonest, indirect, self-denying at first, and self-enhancing at the expense of others later. The aggressive communicator is inappropriately honest, direct, expressive, attacking, blaming, controlling, self-enhancing at the expense of others. And the assertive communicator, the green one, the one we try to achieve, is appropriately being honest, direct, self-enhancing, expressive, self-confident, empathetic to the emotions of all involved. So let's talk about tools for effective communication. Understanding how others communicate can be key to getting your message across to them. In order to develop communication style, here are a few tips to keep in mind. Take ownership. Okay, say what you mean. Use the I statements. Maintain eye contact. This is very important, to look a person in the eye, especially, you're in a new culture, new language, don't really know how to understand social cues and body language cues and all these other things around you. So it always works when you look a person in the eye and try to understand what they're saying and say what you want to express. Voice your needs and desires confidently, and don't forget to smile. Everybody, there we go. I see you. Smile, Abigail, that's right. Okay, Veronica, turn your camera on. We got to see your smile. I got to tell you, people, when I was interviewing people for work at my previous position, interview takes about an hour. If the person didn't smile a lot, most of the meeting, they weren't going to work for me. So I got news for you. First impressions make a big impression. They're very important. You got to smile a lot the first day and every day of your new job. Okay, you understand, you don't understand, you smile. All right, and you look a person in your eye and you smile. Can't go wrong with smiling, right? How to deal with aggressive behavior or language. Okay, this is always difficult, okay? So here are some tips on YouTube that you can look at and perhaps find some, some tips on how to deal with it if you come across. Hopefully you won't need to, but you never know. Okay, so here are some tips how to deal with aggression. Nonverbal communication. This is, very important, and we all know that it's out there, right? If you are folding your hands in or spreading your hands out, if you're sitting slouched or if you're standing straight, if you're bent over or if you're, pulling your chest out, every gesture of our body and face means something and expresses something. And we have to be very minded to look for those things, for all the body language and everything else around us, because you're new in a new country, in a new culture, in a new language. But body language tells us more than words, right? We all know that. If you have pets, you know that they respond not to any language, right? They respond to the pitch of the tone of your voice, to the volume of your voice, to the rhythm of your voice, right? They respond to you, right? They smell you. You smell different when you're angry than when you're happy. And all of those things are transferred between all of us. Sometimes we're aware of them and sometimes we're not. And it's really important to put out those, those antennas and try to be attuned to all the things that are not words in our communication skills with our employer, with our family, and with everything else that's coming around us. So along with the 4 communication styles, there is also the nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is any way in which people can transfer information between them without the use of words from the spoken, written, or sign language. And it's not just information, it's feelings, right? It's thoughts, it's everything. Nonverbal communication is expressed in facial expressions, body language, clasped hands indicate closure, tone of voice, physical gesture, standing, touching, and everything else. Now, you know that Hebrew and basically the way that we communicate here in Israel is a lot of body language. And I already taught you this, rega, 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 but there'll be a lot of other things that you guys will be coming across. Some of it will be, pleasant gestures. Some of them are not pleasant gestures. Each culture has all kinds of signs and cues and so on. You can never go wrong with a smile. Never. Tools for effective communication. Active listening. Find out what your patient's opinions, thoughts, and emotions are. Try not to make assumptions and not to make judgments. This is very important, right? If you want to get to know your employer, your client, and his family, you have to know their story. Everybody has a story, right? What was their job? What were their triumphs? What were their disappointments? Who are the important people in their lives? What have they lost? Who are the people that are no longer part of their life? Who they miss? Everything about them is important. It tells their story. And encourage them to tell stories, okay? Look around the house, ask to see family albums, ask them to tell you about who the people in the albums are. Find out, you see books, ask them about the book, where they bought it, why it's there. You see a picture, a photograph. Ask them to tell you all of the stories, okay? That's how you know who the person is, what's important to him, what makes him happy, what makes him sad. In order to make sure you understand what your patient meant, try to reflect that you understand what he said by saying, I understand that you say so and so. More importantly, you should repeat what the person has said in his own words. Very often it gives a person a feeling of affirmation, right? When you hear what you said in your own words, it gives a person a feeling that he has been heard and understood. Be empathetic. Empathy is trying to understand where a person is coming from. And of course, use the I message. When you talk about your opinion, use this is what I think, right? It's not a universal truth. It's something that you think or are feeling. Patience. 5 stars next to patience, right? Be very patient with your patient and his family. Very important. Family is part of the deal. You have to understand who those people are, who is there, to help you do a better job, who is there to give comfort to your employer. Whatever your employer can't tell you about the situation, perhaps the family can. And it's very important. I think Filipino people are very family oriented, and you'll find that Israelis are also very family oriented. And so it's all about, making communication and good communication with the family as well. And I'd also like to say, we're going into this Corona round number 4 or 5 or whatever it is again, all over the world. And again, we're going into another round of being isolated, closed off, distanced. All of these things have a very, very difficult impact on you, on me, on everyone, but mostly on people that are disabled, because the small amount of interaction that they have in their world is somehow limited again. And so, part of your job, and on top of taking care of their health and their medication and, clothing, feeding, and perhaps household chores and other things, also, social and mental and psychological well-being. And all of this is a really big job. And someone has a mic on, which makes it a little difficult to hear. Thank you. Okay. And I just want to suggest that you make an effort to allow your employer to be as connected as possible. And, use yourself as an example. How are you going to be connecting with the rest of your family, friends, and culture and everything else? Through the internet. So if I assume that your employer is not so savvy about using computers and internet, try to help them. Okay, try to help them find what it is they like, what kind of music, what kind of cultural events, lectures, books, whatever, travel, everything is on the internet, right? And so you can use your skills to enhance their life, and perhaps maintain relationships with friends through Zoom, through whatever. Try to make a list who their friends, who their family is. Not wait for the grandchildren to call, but make it a point to call once a week to each grandchild and ask how they're doing. Have grandpa do it, right? Or grandma, whoever your employer is. Be proactive in that respect. And also with the other friends and family members. Give a report once a week. We had a great week. We did this, that, and the other. We were feeling good, or we had a few difficult days. It was so and so. All of those things are very important. Use your skills to be proactive, also in communicating with the family and other people that are important to him. Okay? Nonverbal communication, right? When talking to a patient, maintain eye contact. Try to speak at eye level, okay? Relaxed speech, calm tone of speech, of your voice. And what is eye level? Eye level, obviously, if you're feeding and clothing someone who's disabled, he's sitting or laying. Do the same. You don't have to lay, but you have to sit and be at his eye level. Not talk above him, not, underneath him, but you want to be at eye level. And eye level also means, not to be bossy, not to be, making decisions that are inappropriate, right? We want our employer to feel as comfortable and as safe and as in control as possible of his surroundings. And for that reason, you are basically an extra hand, an extra foot, right? Extra eyes and extra ears. So I invite you, what is your communication style? What, in your opinion, the best communication style? What can you do with your patient? Has communication style that is difficult to handle? And which concerns do you have about your patient and communication style? And any other issues that you may want to bring up? This is a good time to share. Perhaps you've had experience dealing with people who were difficult or depressed or had other communication issues that you'd like to share with us and with yourselves. Anyone? Would anyone like to talk about maybe working in a country where they had a different language, like here in Israel, how they dealt with the language issues? Not knowing a certain language? Okay. Everybody's shy today. Well, 5 words a day, guys. You got to learn 5 words a day in Hebrew. Every day, 5 words. Take a notebook and start writing them down. 5 words every day. And eventually, take a few weeks, a few months, and you'll know Hebrew. How long did it take to learn English? Yeah.
I'd like to ask you a question. It's possible that you will work in a family with an employer that no one in the family speaks English. It happens quite a lot. You've been thinking how you're gonna handle it, or maybe you like to think now how you can handle it. What would you do? not a far-fetched scenario. It happens. And it happens quite often. So I'm interested to hear.
Search in
Anyone have any
Google.
ideas? Go ahead.
Any idea? Something that you like to talk about?
Google
Would you
Translate isn't so good with Hebrew.
Huh? Would you ask to resign? Would it be a reason for you to resign?
Anael has something to say. Go ahead,
Please, Anela.
Anela. Right.
Anela Flora.
Because one of my suggestion is to download a Google Translator, and actually I just downloaded it.
Okay.
Yeah, and also I'm trying to memorize maybe 5 words every day, Hebrew.
Do you get to practice? Not just
Yeah.
memorize, maybe try to combine it with sentences
Not
or
yet, no.
not yet.
Not yet.
Maybe you
Yeah,
can
I have
try with
difficulty.
the other group members here. I
Mm.
think it will benefit them as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just an idea. And very good.
Yeah, thank you.
Brisa? Yeah, Brisa has a hand up. Is that your name?
Yes, mom.
What do you think?
Hello, mom. In my scenario here, my employer a little bit speaking in understand in English, but we communicate in good by using this translator. It's an application translator. He is going to speak, and the translator, I will read what is he saying, and my answer is I will speak I will translate my English into Hebrew, and then my employer read it, so we can understand each other now. Although I have a little bit more Hebrew
Okay. It's a start.
And it
yeah,
sounds
it's
good.
a
Does it work?
We'll
And
both of us will try our best.
that sounds good. And how's it going so far? You understand one another? Are you happy with the
Yes,
result? Yeah,
yes.
that's
We
very good. So
and it's going good, and it's going better.
I'm glad to hear. Maybe you can share it on the group, on the Viber group. I
Yeah,
think it will be wonderful for everyone, because you're not the only one who's going to face this kind of problem. So it's very good.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Talene,
Hi.
Hi.
is that your name? Tell
Hi,
us your
everyone.
name.
Yeah, Yetilin.
Yetelin. Okay, nice name.
Yes. Oh, too cold. Yeah, for me, of course, this is not our mother tongue, but I'm fortunate, no, because all the relatives of my patient, even the husband, all of them are speaking English. But um, I suggest that if you don't know, guys, how to. But the 3 days training, it is very helpful. Okay, the oral one, it is very helpful. Then you can ask one of the family member, at least maybe one at least family member, they can speak and understand little English at least. So you have to ask them, what is this, what is this in Hebrew. For example, like me, I'm here in the sister of my employer, and Miss Ada, she is fluently speaking English. So I asked her to communicate with me in Hebrew. Okay, morning, like that, Boker Tov, the basic one. Um, when she asks time, I will answer it in Hebrew, like that. So every day is a learning process. So don't be afraid. Me, I'm afraid also, but Hebrew language, Greek language, and Arabic, little close to each other. That's why I can jive. That's all. The only thing we can do with ourselves now is to learn by ourselves, because the translation, sometimes Google is a liar. Yeah.
Not good. Yeah.
Yeah, it give wrong information sometimes. When you translate it, it's not like that. I asked Miss Ada, Miss Ada, is this correct? No, not like that. So don't trust more Google, okay? Trust yourself. Trust your intelligence. That's all. Thank you. I talk too
Thank
much.
you.
No,
No, no,
no, no.
no,
Thank you
that was
very
perfect.
much. That was very
Yeah,
wise, wise advice. Very wise advice.
exactly.
Trust yourself and learn. Exactly. That's it. You're on a very high learning curve, all of you. You got a lot to learn. How to keep the house here, how to make your employer happy, calm, relaxed, and language. All of that is all important and very, takes time and a lot of concentration. And yeah,
Yeah,
okay, slowly, one step at a time.
yeah, I would like to add something, if possible. Regarding the language barrier, sometimes when your employer and the employer's family and everyone's around you who cannot and don't understand English, they may get very frustrated. And the way they will communicate, it will, you will see that, uh, it will feel that they're starting to be more aggressive and loud. Sometimes, I'm not saying that everyone are like that. And I think it's important to think how you're going to handle something like that, because it's not necessarily the norm the way they communicate, but sometimes you could see that people are frustrated and they're getting angry because they're being misunderstood, and you may feel the same, that they don't understand you. You will try to please them or try your best to find a solution. Sometimes it will be on your shoulders. You will have to try harder to look something online to help you uh, communicate or try to how to say it, the gap, to overcome.
Always we have to apply our tender loving care, always, not only with the patient, of course with the family, because the family is the what do you call this, they're going to support us while we are working with their relative who have Alzheimer, or who are sick. That's all.
Okay,
Thank
that's
you.
very, very, very true and very, very important to be minded. And like you were telling us, Very often, if your employer doesn't speak English, perhaps there's someone else in the family who is, and so an English speaker. And then you can, of course, recruit their help, to learn and yeah, and to learn more words, and especially to learn what your employer needs and wants. Yes. So sometimes it's nice to be able to call someone and say, please tell me what's going on, why, what he needs, not able to understand, and so on and so forth. Very important. Family, it's a package deal. They usually don't come alone, these people. They come with their family. We all come with our family, right? So let's take a 5-minute break, and then we will continue and have an opportunity to talk about more important things.
So 5 minutes break, everyone.
Okay. Good. So if we continue, here are another YouTube presentation with 10 tips to communicating with the elderly. Perhaps communicating with the elderly isn't so different than communicating with anyone else. But I do want to stress that sometimes when we think about elderly people as being disabled, perhaps physically or maybe even verbally, it would be not correct to think of them as children, even though very often people say, oh, he's acting like, just like a small child. But that isn't true. Even though it may seem that way, don't forget that they've been where you are now at your age, at your point of understanding the world and life in general. And so don't underestimate how elderly people may feel or make judgments about them. They're not children in any way. We don't need to scold them or teach them anything. And we just want to act with respect and patience and kindness. So another step in building a relationship, as I mentioned before, is coordination of expectations. This is very important in any kind of new situation. When starting a new job and starting a new relationship, each side has expectations, hopes, and concerns. Try to have an open conversation with your patient and his family about their needs and expectations. It's important that you also express your needs and expectations and try to be honest, open, and willing to learn. And of course, it's not just what we say, like I said before, all the nonverbal communication, but not only in expressing our thoughts, but very often people don't really, they don't even know how they would feel in a situation until you're there, okay? So when you're making a contract and expressing your needs and so on both sides of a situation, very often there are expectations that are not talked about. And so again, you must be minded about, what your employer's expectations are that they didn't talk about. If they're lonely and, and living alone, perhaps they're expecting you to be, a companion, but not just a companion, to fill the place of people that they've lost or don't live with anymore. Perhaps they're expecting you, and don't say it, to fill the job that that maybe 5 people did in the past, to be the gardener, the driver, the cook, the cleaner, the baker, the caregiver, the medical attendant. And perhaps it's not all possible. Don't be overwhelmed by people's expectations, okay? You start with one thing and you do it well. And then eventually your employer and you as well will come to to an agreement on what's possible and what's not possible. So it's a process and it takes time and you must be patient, okay? And perhaps you also have expectations that may not be talked about, but are there. Perhaps you want to feel part of the family, and perhaps this employer doesn't want you to be part of the family. They just want you to do a professional job and not sit at the table and not sit, and eat with them, or just, it can vary as far as the imagination can go, what people's expectations are and what your own expectations are. So you have to be patient and give it time. And it's like a dance, right? 2 steps forward, 1 step backward, and again, 2 forward. Try to have an open conversation with your patient and his family about their needs and expectations. It's important that you also express your needs and expectations and try to be honest and open and willing to learn. Along the way, there may be changes in the patient's or your own expectations and needs, and it's okay as long as you speak about it, right? If you maintain good communication, you can always talk again openly about your patient's expectations and your own expectations, and to re-coordinate expectations, right? Assumingly, you're going to be with your employer for a long time, perhaps years and so on, and their health may change, their social situation may change, and perhaps yours as well may change, right? And your needs can change. Perhaps you have other family situations. You'll make friends. Perhaps you want to meet those friends. Perhaps you want them to visit you. All of that has to be coordinated with your employer, right? Life goes on. So it's always in a state of change, and it must be discussed. The third step is building trust. And we all know how important trust is in a relationship, and also how difficult it is to regain trust if trust is lost. Trust is the basis of any relationship, and especially the relationship with your patient. So what is trust? Reliability, sincerity, integrity, consistency, commitment, and competence. Okay. What is trust? Trust is one's willingness to be vulnerable to another based on the confidence that the other has goodwill, is trustworthy, is competent, and is honest and open. It's a shared belief that you can trust someone to achieve a common goal. And you have a common goal, right? To maintain your patient's well-being. And they also want to maintain your well-being, right? I mean, if you're not going to be well for them, then obviously you're not going to do a good job. So this is basically the interaction that's very important. And also the willingness to be vulnerable. You know, at this point, I'm sure that you feel vulnerable. You know, you're in a strange country without your friends, without your family, with no money background, and they feel vulnerable because they're not well, they can't do for themselves. So they trust that you will do the best for them, and you trust that they will do the best for you, right? So you're both in the same situation, and trust is a very important basis for all relationships. At the base of trust, there are many elements. Respect for others. Number one, you got to respect your employer, and of course, you expect to be respected in return. Sincerity. Very important to be sincere, right? You have to be honest and open about what's going on in your life, how you feel. Everybody has feelings, everybody has longings, everybody is, left a lot of stuff behind, perhaps. Very important to be sincere. Integrity. Okay? What you say is what you mean and what you think. Did something wrong? You come up with, you say it didn't work out, didn't mean to do it, won't do it again. Break something, you have to come up and say, not intentionally. You have to, your integrity is important. Openness as well, right? You don't want to be deceitful or hide things. Whatever comes up, you have to share. And reliability, right? They have to rely on you, that you're going to do a good job, you're going to be there for them. They need something in the night, you'll wake up. If they need medication, you'll have it ready for them. You'll check, a week before to see that you have enough, not the last minute run out, and not food, not medication, not anything else that's necessary for your employer's well-being. Consistency. I want to talk about consistency, very important. People feel safe when things are done in a routine, right? We all know that we like to sit at the same place at the table. We like to have our breakfast at the same time. It makes a person feel safe and comfortable, And it's important that you're minded about their routine. And not just about their routine, but also the way they do things, okay? If they do things in a certain way, prepare things in a certain way, the way they dress, what time of day, what they like, what they don't like, all of those things you must ask and learn, and can always ask, okay? Very important. And it's also very important that you give a person the ability, the opportunity to express what it is they want. Even if they say the same thing over and over again, you ask them and allow them to make those small decisions about their life, because their life has become so small and limited, and everyone feels more secure if they have any kind of control about anything about their life, okay? Even if it's so small. So be minded to take care of, and be consistent in things that need to be done, okay? I also want to suggest that consistency also means that, a person needs to feel secure, okay? And when things are in a routine, it helps a person feel very secure. Commitment. You have a commitment, and you're going to make the best of standing up to your commitment, in spite of the fact that things may not be exactly what you expect, or may seem overwhelmingly too big or too difficult. But perseverance is one of the very, very difficult things that you must, find in yourself. Even, not to run away from difficult situations, but to look for ways to solve situations, and see who are the people that can help you to solve situations, right? Made a commitment, and the family has made a commitment to take care of you. Okay, at the base of trust, there are many elements. We talked about that: respect for others, sincerity, integrity, openness, reliability, consistency, and commitment. More ingredients for trust: the willingness to be vulnerable, right? We talked about that. You should share about your life, okay? As much as you feel that you can, depending on what, how you build your relationship, but you really should share about your life, because no one likes to have a stranger around. And what makes you less of a stranger is that they feel, that they know about your life, about you, just like you want to know about their life and about them. A sense of security that the trust recipient will meet the expectations, okay? Goodwill, a belief that the recipient of the trust will protect the well-being of the trust giver. The family is trusting you with a lot. They're trusting you with the person they love to take care of them and all of this property, right? You're living with your employer. They trust that you will take care of their property as well. Not necessarily, be there 24 hours a day, but yes, it is, you're the responsible person that has the physical and the emotional and the psychological abilities to take care of things when they are not able to take care of things. Reliability, a connection between predictability and goodwill. So you must be reliable, right? Honesty, 5 stars next to honesty. We all know that we don't want to trust anyone that we don't think is honest, right? So you don't want to be dishonest. Something happens, you have to talk about it. And so that, suspicion may not be over your head like a cloud. And, you may be tested. I would not put it past some of your employers to try to test you in some way, to see if they can trust you, if they can rely on you, and so on. Maybe trick you. I don't know. Some people are like that. Not everyone, but some people think that their trust must be earned. Well, you do your best, right? If you're honest and straightforward, then it shouldn't be an issue. And reciprocity, all right? Treating the others as we would like to be treated ourselves. I think that's the basis for all human interaction, right? So we want to be treated well, and so we treat everyone around us with the same open heart and mind. How to build trust and trusting relationships with our patient, with our employer. Okay, some effective tools. Remember that your patient opens his private space to you, his home, and like you, he has concerns, expectations, hopes from this relationship. Give trust and trust yourself, trust your patient, and trust the process of getting to know each other. If you trust the other, they will trust you. Always tell the truth. And if something bothers you, don't keep it inside. Try to talk about it. I want to talk about the fact that, a stranger is entering your home. If you can think about that, having a stranger that you don't know a whole lot about him coming and living in your home. It's not, it can be somewhat, causing anxiety, causing stress, causing all kinds of negative feelings, as well as, hope for positive help, right? So if someone rings the door, you need to get up, they will. Someone rings the phone, they will answer if it's difficult for you to do all those small things. But on the other hand, it's an invasion of your privacy, right? Of the place where a person feels safe, person where he's in control, place where everything that he knows about is there in some way. And so you must be minded that when a person has a caregiver coming into their home, it's a situation of crisis, okay? Even if they, receive you with a lot of kindness and smiles and, and care and so on, and say you're one of the family, they're a crisis. It's a very difficult time in a person's life when they decide to bring a caregiver, because it's coming to term with all the inabilities that they have. And this is a difficult time in their life. So you always must be minded that this is a crisis, that you're coming into their life. Perhaps they're angry, they're not showing it. Perhaps they're disappointed, they're sad. Many things can come, maybe not the first day, but over time. And so this is something that you have to deal with and be aware of. Step number 4, creating the Caregiving Alliance, okay? The Caregiving Alliance consists of 3 essential components: agreeing on the caregiving tasks, right? What it is you need to do, what is your job, agreeing on the goals of the care, right? And developing a personal relationship consisting of mutual feelings, trust, and good communication, right? They need to trust you, you need to trust them. The Caregiving Alliance is usually determined at the beginning of a relationship between the caregiver and the patient, and constitutes a primary infrastructure for the relationship between them. Such a contract gives stability to the caregiving relationship and a sense of mutual responsibility and partnership. Okay. So again, talking about expectations and making a contract and talking about what it is that you need to do, clean the house, perhaps water the garden, perhaps drive somewhere if you have a license. I don't know. Sometimes people expect to be driven around. Different people have different expectations, right? Take care of their body. Perhaps they have a pet. You need to walk the dog. Different households have different issues. You must talk about this and, and decide what's possible, what may be difficult, maybe you're allergic to something that happens in the house, but you must be patient and not jump to conclusions at the beginning. Very often people have, all these things in their mind that this is going to happen and this is going to happen and so on and so forth. And some of it happens and some of it doesn't happen, right? So you have to give it time. And if you have any issues about what you're expected to do that you don't think you can do, you should always contact someone in the family, talk about it, contact social worker in the agency, and also perhaps seek advice from CINI. A few weeks ago, we had a caregiver who was asked not to sleep. Okay. His employer was not sleeping at night and also very active during the day. And the wife that lived with him in this situation expected the caregiver not to sleep. So obviously this is, not something that's possible. But most things are possible, right? So you have to find the situation, the way to, to find how to deal with the situation that would be appropriate. And if you can't find, an appropriate way to deal with it, then of course there are other ways to find different employment. But first responsibility is to check out all the possibilities that are there for you to make the work possible. Take step number 5, taking into account social and cultural components. This is very important, again, because you're in a different country, different culture, different family background. Israel is a country of immigrants, come from different continents, different countries, speak many languages. And they have different ways of dealing with things. Very important, the Israeli kitchen, the Jewish kitchen. Perhaps you've heard some things about it, perhaps not. But, dietary laws and Shabbat and holidays and traditions, like everyone else, you have to learn all the rules of the house. Part of the Caregiving Alliance is take into consideration social and cultural components. You and your patient come from different culture and you have different language, styles, customs, preferences, and beliefs. And it's okay for you to express your preference and keep your customs, but it's better to talk about it and reach an agreement. Try to take into account culture, values, customs, traditions. This includes food, preferences, daily routine, and habits. And again, I say, don't be insulted if they ask you not to put your food in the kitchen or not to put your food on the table or eat separately and so on and so forth. Depending on the family, different spices, different smells, all of those things can be sometimes offensive and sometimes, may cause discomfort. We all know what makes us smile when we smell something that seems nice to us, food from home, smells of different things. And also they can be a turn on and a turn off. So be minded about that, okay? And ask if there's something that they don't like, if there's something that's not agreeable to them. And of course, if there's something that's disagreeable to you, say as well. I want to say again that in Israel, we're approaching winter more so now, and most homes are heated with solar heaters that don't cost money if you heat the water with it. And if you use electricity, if there is no sun, like in the winter, then it costs money. And most homes are kind of watchful of how much electricity they use and for what purpose, because the electricity could be more expensive for heating the room and for heating the home and so on. So also be minded that it's an issue and, ask when it would be appropriate to take a shower, to heat your room, whatever, within reason, right? Obviously, not once a month you're going to take a shower. But I'm just saying that perhaps it's certain time when they do have sunlight or certain time when they do turn the boiler on. All of those things may seem inconsequential, but they can be, issues that you need to talk about. So again, I invite you, if you have any questions or if you want to share thoughts, experiences, what do you think is the most complex step? Building trust, what do you think is the easiest step? And do you have any concerns about one of these steps? Anyone like to share or ask questions about anything at all? What I've talked about or other subjects, you're welcome. Risa, I see you have a hat on. Are you inside the home or outside? Risa?
Yes, ma'am. Why?
Is it cold?
Yes.
They don't have the heat on? You have a hat on inside.
No, ma'am. I'm just requesting one.
I didn't understand. It's cold in the home?
Yes, ma'am. But I already requested a heater.
Ah, okay. Okay, that's good. So they will bring you one. Okay. Okay, sometimes, not used to cold or heat or whatever. Yes, whatever you need, you should ask for it. Okay. Jubail, you also have a hat on. Are you also cold inside?
Yes, ma'am.
No
I'm still
heating
in
there?
the isolation. No, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Cold evenings. So
Yes.
do they have enough blankets and so on for you?
Yeah, I do have, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm just
Okay.
waiting for my swab test. And after that, I'll be in my employer.
Okay. Okay. But even in your employer's home, depends, some people have the heat going all day long during the winter and sometimes they don't. You have to know that, sometimes older people may be kind of penny pinching or, trying to save money and so on. So if you have an issue with heat that you think is unreasonable, then you should consult the family as well, like hot water and food and anything else. Okay. Anyone would like to share an experience or thought or question?
Anyone? You like to add something? Anything? All right, everyone. So we will meet again tomorrow. Later this evening, I will write you the exact time. And probably tomorrow morning or before the Zoom meeting, I will send you the link. And now, a caregiver, a Filipino caregiver who's been here for a while, may join us tomorrow. I hope she'll be able to join us. We will know or later this evening or tomorrow early morning. So in case you will join us, I welcome you to think about any question that you may like to ask. I hope you feel comfortable. She's wonderful opening. She will share her experience and she's willing to answer any question that may comes up. So I hope you'll feel free to do that. And later on, I will send today's recorded meeting, the link. And I wish you all a lovely evening. I'm looking forward to see you tomorrow. Good
Miss
evening.
Good evening,
Nat,
everyone.
Slika.
Yes, please.
Miss Nat, I'm the one who sent message, no? And I called already the hotline, but until now they did not yet call me back. But it's okay. At
Oh,
least
the
I
call center.
inform you.
Yes, I know. I know. And they
Yeah.
will contact you as soon as possible. As soon as they can. Okay?
Hey, toda raba.
Bye-bye.
Good evening, everyone. See you tomorrow.
See you
Thank
tomorrow.
you.
תודה רבה.
תודה
Bye.
רבה.
תודה
כל
רבה.
טוב, כל טוב.